So I'd like to talk about how these various meetings all fit together to become a business operating system. And typically, people think of OKRs as having this quarterly cadence. So I'm going to talk about the total quarterly ecosystem of meetings, and then we'll figure out what really happens. So the story seems to go a bit like this, that if I think of any particular quarter, at the beginning of the quarter and the year, we do our annual planning, and that's where we set our overall strategy, the North Star, and set those quarterly OKRs based on our best guess. Then each quarter, of course, things unfold. Daily, you'll have some sort of daily huddle. And in those daily huddles, what we're going to do is coordinate daily activities within that small team. We're going to share information that's pertinent to this team and daily decisions. And use this to immediately surface issues before they get out of control. Once a week, you're going to have a slightly bigger meeting. In that meeting, you're going to review your performance against your OKRs and check the overall progress. You'll probably also monitor action items, to-do lists, tasks that have been assigned. And based on those daily meetings, deal with any of those surfaced issues. And then finally, you might identify big decisions that are beyond that weekly meeting. To deal with those, you'll have a monthly meeting. So that monthly or sort of anytime meeting, in those, what you're going to do is make decisions about those big issues that were surfaced and escalated up to the monthly meeting. You'll probably also do some work to refine objectives or key results. And that process repeats until I get to the end of the quarter. Then there's some sort of quarterly refresh. We think of it as a retrospective and reset that happens to take our learnings and move them forward. And based on that, we end up with updating our strategy, either the next quarters or, of course, the overall annual plan. Now, that's business as usual. But of course, things happen. And so a good example of where this nice regular cadence doesn't work is with COVID. So all of a sudden we're hit with COVID, we have to set a new strategy and sort out what that does to our OKRs. And what that also means is maybe the cadence of meeting monthly for those significant issues doesn't work anymore. Maybe as the stressors hit, the timelines tighten up and I need to meet more frequently to deal with those big issues. So again, when COVID hit, we had big issues like how do I shut down the office? How do I support work from home, etc. And so I can't wait a month to have those decisions. And then what it means is often even the refresh happens sooner. So again, as times get tough, that quarterly cadence turns into, every 6 weeks, every 4 weeks, whatever is necessary to make the organization agile. So this is the ecology of meetings and how they tend to shift around based on the stressors on the organization. Looking at the same idea in that regular cycle, we tend to think of there being 3 types of meetings that you run: tactical, operational, and strategic. So tactical, those are those daily or weekly stand-ups. In those meetings, you spend about 80% of your time reviewing performance and 20% taking corrective action. And that repeats in this example once a week. At the end of the month, you have a slightly bigger meeting. And the profile of that meeting is different. I do review performance. I do review action, but maybe only 40, 50, 60% of the meeting. The other 40% is discussing the implications. So maybe we've had ongoing supplier issues or ongoing capacity issues. How do I adjust for that, given the resources I have at my disposal? And that process repeats every month. Now, probably these tactical meetings and operational meetings already exist in your business. We're strongly recommending a new meeting. I'm going to call it strategic. In a strategic meeting, we're going to take that North Star, our strategic objectives and priorities, and take a look at the actual performance. And in that meeting, we're going to spend a little bit of time on performance, a little bit of time on implications, but the bulk of the time, 80%, is talking about strategic issues. Are the objectives still right? Are those key results still right? Are priorities right? And effectively, we might come up with a variation on the strategy, as represented by this purple color. And now we're going to run the next quarter using that new model. We're going to get together and possibly adjust it again. So this organization ends up having 4 learning cycles where historically you only had 1. What does this do? Well, obviously it allows you to be more agile in the marketplace. But also it gives you a new muscle. If an event happens in the middle of a quarter, for example, another pandemic, or you do an acquisition, or a competitor drops out of the market, whatever that might be, you have a muscle here that I can immediately turn on, revisit the strategy, adjust it, and align the organization quickly. So the OKRs are the fuel that make this happen and allow you to plot what I thought was the strategy yesterday and what it now is today. Now, the trick here is each department I think of as almost like the gears of a mechanical watch. Each department has a different cadence. So some departments like IT or sales might need a daily stand-up. Other departments might need only a weekly meeting. Others, maybe meeting every fortnight is good enough. So the idea is different parts of the organization are going to move at a different speed. But we still want them all to synchronize their watches, say once a month, to make sure that we're all aligned and moving in the same direction. Now, part of the trick to make this work is the right problem has to find itself in the right meeting. So let's talk about that for a second. So imagine I've got a team that has a daily meeting as well as a team weekly meeting. Now, the ecology of problems looks a bit like this. Maybe on Monday, someone's going to have to take the next day off. Well, you can solve that in the huddle. Given that operator's gone, these 3 people will cover for them. Scenario 2. Let's say, I don't know, we've got to hire a new person, or we've got ongoing maintenance issues with a piece of equipment. That's too big to deal with in a daily huddle. I'm going to punt that to the weekend meeting. In other words, it doesn't matter how long, we don't have the time to debate that to try to solve it here. Scenario 3, let's say I bump into a problem that is beyond this team. I know who needs to get involved. They're from a different team or even a different department. And it doesn't matter how long we debate it, we can't solve it. That problem has to get passed over to a cross-functional team with the right people in it that can process that problem. And the right people are the people that have the control, authority, and the subject matter expertise to deal with the issue. Now, another scenario is maybe I can't solve Thursday's problem in the meeting and it's beyond our team. I got to punt that to the departmental meeting. So that problem moves to the department. And the final scenario is maybe I can't solve the problem at the team level. I need to move it up to the department level. So what you're seeing is almost like an old-fashioned coin sorter where, the dimes always go in the dime slot and the nickels in the nickel slot. How do I make sure the right problem finds itself in the right meeting so we don't spin our tires, waste our time talking about things that we can't solve because I don't have the right control, authority, or subject matter expertise? Now, the final scenario is maybe this cross-functional team can't solve it or this department can't solve it. So it gets escalated up to the overall leadership in their weekly meeting. And so if we can't solve it, that gets moved up from the cross-functional team or the department. So from this, what you see is the leadership team is never burdened with issues that are too small, that could be dealt with earlier on. And these teams don't have to struggle with problems that are beyond their scope. So this is the right way to make sure the right problem finds itself in the right meeting so it gets processed the right way. We'd love to share more of our ideas with you. There are probably about 300 YouTube videos that we've recorded that you can find on our YouTube page. We also write a continuous series of blogs about OKR and related topics. Or feel free just to give us a phone call or email me. Happy to have a conversation about any of these topics. Talk to you soon.